How's Tennessee? How are Tennessee fans feeling about this week against Georgia?
I mean, oddly, really positive. I mean, the lines dropped down to what, 4.5, 3.5, depending on where you look. So it's dropped a lot in the last 24 hours since when it was first announced. I mean, I think Tennessee fans they think they're getting Georgia at a good time. Gunner obviously not impressing vertically down the stretch. Georgia's banged up on the offensive line, specifically on that right hand side where Tennessee's going to be able to rotate a lot of Leos at Georgia. So we'll see whether that's Bo Hughley or Ernest Green or if Juan Gaston's ready to go. I don't know. I think you look at that right side of the Georgia offensive line and you're like, oh, yeah, Josh Jackson doesn't look like he's ready to really be a guy who can help Georgia on the offensive line. So I don't know. I think the difference with last year, where I think a lot of Tennessee fans, myself included, where you were there, the panel we did at TPL at Creature Comforts in Athens, where I was surprised that Tennessee wasn't able to get home with 4 against Georgia's offensive line and their struggles they had against Ole Miss the week prior. And then I think one of the things they did not do is, like, in those 40 dropbacks, they did not blitz. Like, that was something the last 2 years Tim Banks has been able to have a top 10, top 15 scoring defense without blitzing and being able to get home with 4 when he needs to, with James Pierce, Tyler Barron, Josh Josephs, this, that, and the other. This year, they're blitzing more. The linebackers are blitzing more. They're sending 5-6 guys pretty consistently this season. So I think I'm going to be really interested to see how Georgia deals with Tennessee's aggressive calls. I think they're the best blitzing linebackers they've had since 22. Jeremy Banks and Aaron Beasley were really good blitzing linebackers, but I think Spillman and Arion and company are going to cause Georgia some problems in the interior when they're blitzing. And we'll see. I think Bo Carter was really awesome in his special teams opportunities. He's finally returning punts again after working his way back in the lineup. So yeah, I mean, he almost put Tennessee up 14-0 in that game in Athens in the first quarter. We joke about it a lot, Matt, but I mean, Brett Thorson doesn't make that tackle. Tennessee's up 14-0 in that game, and who knows how it goes. So I think you're also kind of optimistic because, like, the gunner part of it, man, I don't know. It doesn't seem like Kirby is all that enthused by his start, and they're talking about he's got to play like he practices, and I mean, got to take those vertical shots. I heard before I came on, Bo, you were talking about they had one vertical shot, and it was to Taylor in that game against Austin Peay. So you're on the road, like, he's not gonna be able to do that. Like, you're gonna have to take some shots, and you're gonna have to make Tennessee pay in soft zone coverage that Tennessee likes to play a lot, especially over the middle. So I don't know, Gunner, he's gonna have to, like, Tennessee is gonna make Gunner slice and dice them, and I don't know if he's going to be willing to do that. Like, it's new, it's his first road environment, and it's going to be loud. Checker Nealon is going to be in effect here. I mean, it's going to be a pretty crazy environment for him, obviously game day being here. So I don't know. I think this is going to be the lowest scoring potentially of the Tennessee Georgia history. I think both teams feel probably pretty good, but I think this is definitely the best Tennessee fans have felt in the 5 meetings thus far. And like I said, getting him early before Gunner can settle in, before this offensive line can settle in, I think might end up paying dividends for Tennessee, because usually when they got him, Georgia's, I don't want to say desperate, but Georgia's really rounded to form. And obviously the Tennessee game last year was their jumping off point. Like, Georgia really kicked their season into gear after beating up on the Vols. So I don't know. I mean, you still haven't scored on them in the last 2 games in the second half. You still got to figure some stuff out there. But I think by and large, Tennessee fans are pretty optimistic. Joey Aguilar taking some deep shots, no picks. I mean, the offensive line too. Like, I just think the game is going to potentially come down to how Georgia and their front 7 deal with Tennessee's much improved offensive line. Because I think a lot of people are wondering about Tennessee's 4 new starters. Tennessee, I think, is really, really strong and deep on their offensive line. This is the best offensive line they've had since 22. And I'm curious how much they're able to win against Gabe Harris, Elo Badozi, Jordan Hall, Elijah Griffin, guys like that. Because I don't know. I think Tennessee, as Tennessee now being in the plus 50% blue chip ratio, and the kind of guys that Rodney Garner and Glenn Ellerby have brought in the trenches, they're pretty similar. And I think that is going to be the big battle here, is how does Tennessee's offensive line hold up? And then the other final one, I know I'm talking a lot, but Georgia, it's no question that Georgia and their secondary, they're physical, they hold all the time, they're very aggressive, and Tennessee has not handled that well at all. Like Keely Ringo is probably the biggest offender of that. I mean, he was tackling dudes. I mean, that first drive against Tennessee in 2021.
Tongue,
huh?
I said, you bite your tongue, sir.
I mean, Keely Ringo's he was built like a running back, but he was out there playing corner, and they're going to play physical, and they're going to make Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley and Chris Brazzell prove that they can win one-on-one. Like, they're going to have to. Doesn't mean they have to do it all the time. They have to do it sometimes. They have to win sometimes one-on-one, and they have not. Tennessee's receivers through 4 seasons under Heupel have not handled press man from Georgia very well. And Georgia's, they're going to grab you. They're going to come in. They're going to make them work because, you're not going to throw a flag every time. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that Tennessee can win this game for the first time in a long time. But I don't know. I'm still kind of cautiously skeptical, I guess. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also cautiously skeptical of this game. But I don't know. I do think I understand why Tennessee fans are more optimistic than they've been. I think they have a better shot. I'll say this. I think they have a better shot than they did in 22, even when they were the number 1 team in the country going into Athens. I think this is their best shot.
Interesting. Bo, I'll let you go next.
Oh, yeah. I guess, Chase, my biggest question for you is, I know that because this is a relatively unproven Tennessee team as Georgia. They've got a Power 5 win and Georgia doesn't, so maybe let me not even say that. But the biggest thing that I think I look at going into this game from Tennessee's point of view is, the injuries at cornerback to Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson, 2 of the better starting corners in the country and in the SEC. Just what is the level of confidence that's in Colton Hood and Ty Redmond to come in and start in a big time SEC opener like this?
Yeah, no, I think Colton Hood's been maybe your best transfer portal addition outside of Wendell Moy. I think Colton Hood has been plug and play. He's electric. He's very physical. He's been locked down against Syracuse and obviously much worse competition against TTSU this Saturday. But he's a competent player on the perimeter, which is what you got to be. He's big. He's physical. He's a 4-star kid out of Georgia who started at Auburn, moved to Colorado. He's going to start at Colorado to replace Travis Hunter, and he moves over to Tennessee. He's a good player. Jalen McMurray's had to play star because of Boo's issues over the summer. So Boo, I'm guessing because Ricky's out for a while, and obviously you're not going to get Jamad back here. Like, yeah, you would love them both in this spot. But again, like Georgia, they have to prove that they're going to go and test these Tennessee corners in this game. So I don't know. We'll see if Gunner and the offense and Bobo challenge them down the field and how that works. But Tennessee, they were the only team in the SEC not to give up a pass play 40-plus yards through the air. So they don't really get beat deep. Like, that's just one of those things. Tim Banks has done a really solid job. Willie Martinez, old Georgia friend, Willie Martinez, he's been great here as the cornerbacks coach. And Ty Redmond's a true freshman. He started these 2 games, and he was teammates with Dylan Lewis, who's also another true freshman at Milton, where they won the state title and the powerhouse there. So he's got a strong pedigree, and he's long, rangy. Tennessee likes long, rangy corners and safeties and those guys who can cross train and stuff. So I do think they're thin at that spot, but they also they've never really rotated back there anyway. So as long as McMurray, Ty Redmond, and Colton stay healthy in this game, I think you're fine. Boo Carter is definitely plus at star, and the safeties never give out big plays. Safeties are good. They're not great. And that's just kind of been the calling card of Tennessee's back to through the Tim Banks era on defense. But yeah, I don't know. Georgia hasn't really done that. And until Tennessee proves that they are going to let people beat them over the top, I'm not expecting that. I think Georgia, the way like last year and against Tennessee 2 years ago in Neyland, Carson Beck was just quietly Dylan Belling you to death. And I don't think those big 40-plus yard bombs where like I don't know, who was the kid? Aaron Smith last year or something like that, where Stetson got a couple on Tennessee a couple years ago. I don't think you're going to get that in this game. And I don't think Tennessee gives up those kind of plays often. I don't think Gunner is going to be the guy who really burns Tennessee multiple times deep. So I don't know. I'm not really worried about the corners as much as I think a lot of people might. I think they've been good. And I think Tennessee's scheme is pretty, I don't want to say big play proof, but they're one of the best in terms of limiting big pass plays through the air down the field.
Yeah, Stetson hit James Cook and McConkey on a couple of deep shots against Tennessee, 21, 22. I think the receivers were one of the biggest things Tennessee fans. I don't know if I say that they were the scapegoat of the 2024 team, but it feels like there was a lot that was put on the receivers last year. Are you confident that this year's Tennessee's receivers are better than a year ago?
If they're healthy, yes. I think as a unit, yes. Dante Thornton was elite last year for Tennessee, and there's a reason he's starting right away for Oakland, or for Vegas rather.
Dude, he's a beast.
I think it's tough because I said before the year, if they can get, so in 2021, Tennessee was able to get 2,000 snaps from Cedric Tillman, Javonte Payton, and Velus Jones, and that you were able to survive there. And Tennessee had a top 10 scoring offense. They were top 10 passing offense. Like, they don't really want to rotate a receiver anyway. And if you're healthy with Braylon Staley, Mike Matthews, and Chris Brazzell, who's a lot more comfortable in year 2 in the system, yeah, I think Tennessee's passing game is going to be really good this year for the majority if they can stay healthy. I mean, Mike's got a lot of wiggle. Braylon has that top end speed. He had obviously the 73 yarder against Syracuse where he took the top off in the slot. Tennessee also is still using a whole lot of 12 personnel. So that shot play with Braylon Staley, that 73 yards, it was only 2 receivers in the field. So they're going to go a lot of 2 tight end sets, especially I would imagine against Georgia, where we'll see on David Sanders. He hasn't played to this point, and I think it would be I think it would be interesting to throw out the true freshman 5-star freshman against Georgia as his first start this Saturday. So I just feel like with redshirt freshman Jesse Perry at right tackle, who's been good through 2 weeks, they're going to chip and they're going to help him. They're going to help Lance Hurd on the other side, who's been good too to this point. But I see a lot of Miles Kitzman, a lot of Ethan Davis at the 2 tight end spots, and the receivers I think are good. But again, like I said, against Georgia, it's a different breed. Like they don't encounter teams like Georgia very often. So it's a different kind of matchup, different kind of competition and play style with Kirby's bunch. But yeah, I think this receiving core collectively should definitely be better than last year, but they just don't have any depth. So if one of those guys go down, I mean, you're going true freshman, Radarius Jackson or Travis Smith Jr. So you're very thin in a hurry if one of those guys goes down. But if they're 3 healthy, then yeah, I think they're really good.
Yeah, I feel like this game is going to be a big thing to look out for. It's just going to be how well Tennessee's receivers can do against all of the press man coverage that they're going to get from Georgia's defensive backs. Is these last few years of this rivalry, especially under Heupel, one of the biggest things I think from each game is like Georgia's DBs will just jam the crap out of Tennessee's receivers at the line, and they just can't get off of it. And it's just like you can't overcome that physicality because, like you're saying, like yeah, they'll call it sometimes, but like Kirby's always going to tell them to just do it until they get called for it, you know, and they don't really get called for it that much. So that's going to be something that I think is really going to be interesting to look at. And just the amount of 12 personnel, I think Tennessee is making it a point to like be more physical this year overall because they've seen how much they've gotten like out physical by this Georgia team in the past. So those heavier sets are going to be really cool to see, especially with such a young offensive line that Tennessee has. I wonder how much Davis.
But is Tennessee going to have an advantage being more physical than Georgia's defense? That's the question. Like, just if they're like without the wide splits and everything, just kind of playing more in a phone booth, like, and maybe that's an exaggeration. Yeah. Tennessee's not going to play that way, but I would have to say that plays to Georgia's strengths, right? Which is that front 7.
Are you asking me or Bo? I didn't know who you're asking.
Whoever wants to take it. I'll ask you, Chase. You're the Tennessee expert.
So I think so part of the new wrinkle, so Tennessee's doing a lot more pistol this year. One of the things that's so curious to me about Joey Aguilar through 2 weeks is that ball he threw up to Mike Matthews on a 53-yard touchdown where Mike kind of just came out of nowhere and snagged it for a touchdown. It was a great play, but it was underthrown. It was kind of a chaos throw from Aguilar rolling left, and the Brett Favre stuff, the gunslinger stuff that his QB coach personally referred to him as. And yeah, like he's going to take some shots. And that's, I go back and forth on this because I was actually having this debate on the show today because I think some people believe that the best version of Aguilar and Tennessee's best chance to beat Georgia on Saturday is like the best version of Tennessee's offense. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you have to be able to play outside of structure. I think Joey's going to have to make some plays when things break down, when Gabe Harris is in his face, Griffin, whoever, and he's rolling left and he throws that kind of thing up there and takes in Maddox or something in the back end, doesn't make a play, and Chris Brazzell wins a one-on-one there, and you're like, oh wow, okay, that like Aguilar needs to make 3 yes plays in this game, because I think that's, if you look Georgia historically when they get beat. I mean, Jackson Dart, obviously an elite quarterback who beat them last year. You go back through, I mean, the Joe Burrow LSU team, everyone got stomped there, but you go, Bryce Young, like it's big time quarterback play. Like I don't see any way around Tennessee. Like I love Hendon Hooker. He was great for the university, my favorite Tennessee quarterback in this century, but his thing was not playing outside of the hype. Yeah, like he's an efficient machine.
Yeah.
But when he has that quick 2-step drop and Jalen Carter is in the backfield over and over again before the play even gets started, like you just don't really have a chance, because he's not that guy who's just going to be able to make something out of nothing. Aguilar has that in him. But the thing is, like, this could get ugly in a hurry. Like, he could cost Tennessee the game if he makes a couple bad mistakes where he's trying to make something out of nothing. That got him into trouble last year at App State, where he led FBS in interceptions. So you've seen a couple of those plays. Like, obviously, Heupel's scheme definitely helps in terms of, I mean, he hasn't thrown a pick yet. He's only been pressured. I think so 70% of his dropbacks thus far, he has not been pressured to this point. So we haven't really seen what he's going to do with serious guys and with serious pressure in his face. But I do think he's done some stuff that's interesting, where he lofted one to Star Thomas in the red zone against Syracuse, where he rolled left, and it was kind of like he just kind of flicked it to him, and you're like, all right, it's a different type of deal. Like he's going to take some chances. And I think that is actually important, because I do believe that's part of the appeal of what was the appeal of Nico, is eventually he'd be able to play outside of the Heupel offense when things broke down in big games. And that just never manifested last year at Tennessee. But I do think Aguilar being 24, having played in so many different schemes, and being fearless, he's going to take some shots here. And I don't know if they're going to work out. Like, I still have a couple days to figure out what I'm going to predict here in terms of Tennessee, Georgia, but I can see the path. I can see it, but I do think it's a fine line. And that's the debate, is like, oh, do you risk it? I'm like, yeah, he's going to have to put the ball in harm's way. Like, he's going to have to really take some chances against Georgia's secondary. He's going to have to challenge some guys, and he's going to have to try and thread the needle. And these receivers are going to have to be able to handle press man. And there's a lot of moving parts here, but yeah, I just don't think Tennessee can beat Georgia if Joey Aguilar does not have a Heisman type day where he just balls out and makes a lot out of nothing. I don't know I don't think the formula works just doing the Heupel script against Kirby for 4 quarters. I just don't think that works.
See, it's interesting that you think that this is the confident that Tennessee fans have been, because I would say right now, and it's still early, so they could be the best team they've had in years, but they don't feel as good as 2024 or 2022 to me. Like,
really?
Maybe it's
when they were number 1.
Yeah, like right now, they don't feel like they were as good as a team as those other 2 teams. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's interesting that you're the most confident this year. Is it just because this appears to be the worst Georgia team we've seen in 5 years?
I think part of it's that. I think they've also just kind of closed the gap with athletes. Like, Tennessee is back in the blue chip ratio. I mean, they just did not have the body, especially defensively in 22. Like, Tennessee did not have, I mean, this was a top 10 scoring defense last year. And they just have a lot more SEC bodies, especially in the trenches. You look at Tennessee in the trenches now versus when Heupel first got here, it's just night and day. Like, Tennessee has 5 Leos, all blue chippers. Like, that's just, Rodney Garner and Coach Chop have been stacking dude after dude in the trenches. And part of it is also Glenn Elby. You're going to have 2 5-star tackles potentially starting this game, and Lance Hurd and David Sanders. You're going to have 3 4-stars in the interior. Like, they have dudes. Like, they have bodies that can now withstand Georgia more so than they could have a couple years ago. And I think, like I said, early returns in the offensive line is really strong. And I think that's part of it, is Tennessee is once again averaging over 5 yards per carry. They've averaged over 5 yards per carry all 4 years under Heupel. I think the versatility we've seen, I think part of it, I think there's a lot more faith in Tennessee's defense than there was in the early part of the Heupel era. And I just think Tim Banks, William Inch, Rodney Garner and company, like, yeah, you're banged up at corner, and we would love to have Jermod and Ricky ready to go for this game. But man, like, Tennessee's just got a lot they just come in waves. Like, they rotate so well and they develop so well on that side of the ball that I think there's a lot of trust in this defense. And Heupel's lost 1 game in Neyland Stadium in the last 3 years, and it was to Georgia in 23.